it's just only getting deeper and deeper. People are not going to be ready for what's been hidden from them. It's going to be catastrophic.
Yes, because they've rejected knowledge. A lot of people just don't want to, this cognitive dissonance that's going on is one thing. We're talking about how we don't want to be dealing with the daily grind of the election. I talk about the real truth, what really underlines and is part of this huge deception that's been put over humanity, including the fraud, but it's much deeper than that. And when people find out the real truth is what we're talking about, they're not going to be able to handle it.
Many people will not be able to handle it, and I can see where that would be the case, really. One of the things I want to mention is that we both, you've been an attorney in Los Angeles, and you've also had events, life events. And of course, I've worked at CNN and all the big networks. I worked at CNN during the Gulf War. So I have a lot of contacts through even associates who have contacts. And Sarge and a lot of other people have heard a lot of things underground. Well, all of these things are sounding like what should be happening. And just recently, we've had this Real Raw News come out. Well, it's all the stuff that we've already heard from pretty dang reliable sources. People contact me because of, my experience at CNN. And again, I've worked with people that have contacts, and they hook me up with their contacts. So we are getting information about what's really going on. And so half of this stuff that's happening, I'm like Biden being president. It's the perfect example. We know it can't be happening after what happened on January 6th, because this whole thing, it can't be allowed to happen. And the whole thing was set up so that January 6th would happen. So they didn't just let Biden be president. We know something else is going on. We're hearing it from reliable sources. And now it's all popping up on this Real Raw News. And I don't know, Delara, is that the way it's unfolded for you?
Yep, it's unfolding exactly how you said, Linda. And I'm having the same sort of communications, which have always been there. I mean, this isn't like it started yesterday. This is how we ended up here together. I'm getting a lot of information from people that work in entertainment. Their attorneys are calling me confidentially, because if we've worked together in the past, or, sometimes I'm getting cold calls, from people that I know, but they're calling me about stuff that's quite interesting, and it fits in with the show that we're watching, as far as perhaps there might be things like, and I'm just going to suggest, and the things I've heard, like there's some production going on to show the people. Like, for example, the fake Biden that's not one of the topics that what I was approached with, but I'm using it as an example since we are familiar with the fact that we're watching a show and that this Biden isn't even real. But there's some level of involvement with people that people know that may have worked for Hollywood. And I'm just saying this because I've gotten some information and I'm putting it together in my head really as I speak to you, that those people are working on this show. So there's people working on production is what I'm getting to. If that's the case, which I believe it is, they're working for the White Hats, and the White Hats and the military are in control, right?
Well, and also, not for nothing, we are following QAnon's lead. We are following Q's lead. We need things that fit, what the clues that we were given by QAnon. And sometimes the clues are multifaceted, and other times the clues where you're looking for a secret meaning in stuff, it's really literally hard to swallow, or you are watching a show. I mean, really, I think we're literally watching a show. We've had this conversation before, but I feel like sometimes there's a few people out there that expect me or us to follow these headlines when we know that half of it is Ashley Babbitt, for instance.
Oh God.
What have you heard about Ashley Babbitt? And then I'll tell you what I've heard about Ashley Babbitt.
Well, I heard that Ashley Babbitt is an actress, and it was all staged, and she's alive.
Well, Sarge even was talking about how if you go back, that the whole military back channels are talking about the whole scene of where that when people are really shot, it really doesn't look like that, and that there's a lot technically wrong with the actual scene of the shooting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so my point about it is the same point that I made back when I was saying Epstein is alive. You know, people say Epstein didn't commit suicide. No, he didn't commit suicide. He's still alive. They never would have put him in that cell like that, knowing it's a trap. It's a trap. And it goes back to QAnon. How do you catch a dangerous animal? You set a trap for it. You create something that they walk right into because you know your enemy. You know what your enemy is going to do. They set a trap. And what do you think Epstein did when he saw the Clintons partying after he was, suicided?
Sang like a bird because, can I just say it?
Go for it.
Epstein's a pussy. All these guys are pussies, and they're bullies, and they're narcissists, and they're sick, and they're twisted. And that's what the agency looks for when it comes to controlling assets.
And I just happened to think we need to stop this for a minute. Because we forgot to tell everybody why we're using why we have to do our pictures. And we have to let everybody know, believe me, we got notes, we'll get back on track, but you guys have to.
Oh boy.
Well, it's good that you can keep a sense of humor.
If I don't laugh through what I've been going through here for the last, really 12 years, but we won't go into that. What I've been going through here for a little while, I've been dealing with a life-changing and most pleasurable situation. Let's just leave it at that. So I'm willing to suffer through the negativity at the moment and the poop show to get to the beautiful, bright ending that is already within reach. But sometimes you just have to let players play out their game, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and maybe it's fair to say that sometimes you're friends with someone, but then that friendship goes south.
I think a lot of people could relate to that right now.
Yeah, and then there's things that have to be returned and stuff like that. And it gets ugly.
Yeah.
And it can get very ugly.
Yeah, very ugly, smelly, greasy, all sorts of things. Yeah, there's lots of adjectives for this, but we'll let the public listeners not have to deal with those gory details that I've been having to deal with. So I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, everything will be completely different. So by the next show, things will be much fresher. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I heard something on one of these shows the other night about this lady. It was like a Dateline. They always give the mini bio. And they said she was a feisty woman who got things done. And one of her favorite things to say was, "Don't tell me about the labor pains, just show me the baby."
Oh, I like that.
I had to write that down. I was like, ooh.
I should use that. There's somebody that needs to hear that.
Don't tell me about I don't want to hear about the labor pains, just show me the baby.
Oh, I'm actually writing that down too, because I'm going to use that later.
That's classic. So we're through telling you about the labor pains, and let's get back to the baby, I guess.
Great.
So, what we were talking about is the fact that we are right now going through, it's going to be slow disclosure. But some very important things are happening on this Real Raw News. I guess it's like a been linked to the military. I heard that early on, but I'm never sure. I have to hear it again and then go digging and then hear it again and again. And what's happening is this thing is snowballing or blossoming out, where now people are coming to me who knew about it but couldn't talk about it and telling me, yeah, you're right. It is a military op. It's part of disclosure.
So I have two friends from the FBI, not just one friend from the FBI. Both of them no longer work for the FBI, but both of them recently stopped working for the FBI. And both of them have told me this is a military channel that's being used for disclosure to the public. Of course, they're not going to come out and say, hi, we're the military and we're disclosing this information to you through this channel. But they did put a little disclaimer on there, Linda, that you and I went over, and you had some good points about that.
That's right. They put a disclaimer up there, and you're the one that brought this. Well, I'd seen it before, but I didn't really read the. I wasn't sure if it was real or not. There's a lot of stuff out there. With a lot of names, you just don't know. And right. Some of them come right out and say they're parody sites. But this right. one said, well, what did it say again? But it said a bunch of stuff, but then it said, but we just have to say that. Yeah, that's the only reason that's there, is because we have
right. to. Yeah. That's exactly what their disclaimer was. Their disclaimer was that they had to give a disclaimer because they had to say it.
And they disclaimed their disclaimer.
Basically exactly what happened. And I want to make a point that we briefly touched on earlier before we got here, and that's that this disclosure process is going to be slow, because as Q says, how do you make people aware of an alternate reality? Crumbs are easy to swallow. So not only are they going to drip this, as we've all known, they're going to do it through sites like this. They're going to do it through every media outlet that they've now taken control of, because the military is in control of the big tech, the media, the everything, every single way to reach a human being, whether it's through your phone. Right now it's just basically internet and unfortunately the fable of cable, but I can't believe people are still watching that crap. They're basically going to be the way to deliver news, because no longer is some guy riding through the streets with a bicycle, some kid throwing a newspaper at your door. So it's going to have to come through our existing media channels. And how is that going to happen? It's going to happen through sites just like this, Linda.
Well, and here's what's not going to happen. They're not going to take over the media and then get on there and start announcing all this stuff, and then it's going to be like King Kong, people are going to freak out and run out into the streets, because this stuff is so, it's so outrageous. It's so out there.
Difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to swallow. Well, again, QAnon gives us clues that are actually really, literally, they mean hard. And all this information that we got very quickly. Yeah. And I can see where these other people are not going to be able to. Again, it's going to cause a King Kong effect, They're all going to go running crazy in the streets or something. I don't know what's going to happen, because these people are not ready for that much information that fast.
Well, the choice to know is going to be theirs, but if you choose not to hear the whistle of a train and you're walking down the tracks, you're going to be flattened out pretty quick. And that's why, and this is a harsh reality, but the truth hurts.